And in keeping with the JRPG theme, Square Enix is drowning 2022 with new RPGs, and we're here for it. There are another 10 RPGs coming from Japan, from the Japanese publisher before the year's end, and only one is Final Fantasy. That's crazy. I didn't know. I had no idea. Like, they announced on Twitter a new Tactics Ogre game, and I had just finished my obsession with Symphony of War. I'm a big strategy RPG nerd. So, like, I love those kinds of games. So as soon as they announced it, I was like, all right, I guess that's one I'm going to be buying. But I didn't know they had all these other ones. 2022 is a great year to be an RPG fan, particularly of Japanese games. The holiday season is usually crowded with new game releases, but this year Square Enix appears to be releasing games like it's Christmas all year round, with so many games out already and so many more to come. Back in March 2022, Square Enix had a string of big releases all throughout the month. Babylon's Fall, a live service action game. Triangle Strategy, that's another one that I haven't tried. I downloaded the demo and played it, but I meant to purchase it on release, and I just haven't. That one's only on the Switch, so I'll have to actually go get my Switch back to do that one. Chocobo GP, a racing game spin-off of Final Fantasy series, and Stranger of Paradise, Final Fantasy, an action RPG game in collaboration with Koei Tecmo. Square Enix has always had a habit of releasing a handful of games in a rush, mixing big blah, 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 blah. Let's see, games like The Voice of the Cards, The Beasts of Burtons, The Diofield Chronicles, and Valkyrie Elysium have gotten generally positive reception so far. I haven't heard of any of this. What is The Voice of Cards? What is this? Oh, is this a card game? I guess it's I've automatically lost all interest. Sorry, if you're a card game fan, then I've lost all interest in this already, and I apologize. What about the Diofield Chronicle? Six out of 10. Ooh. This isn't getting good marks. A gritty and immersive story brought to life with the latest technology, introducing real-time tactical battle, RTTB, a new deeply strategic real-time battle system. Okay, well, it's mixed. So... okay, this looks like another strategy RPG. I wonder... I mean, it doesn't look terrible. I wonder why it's getting such mediocre marks then. Oh, there's a demo. Well, you know what? I'm going to download the demo. Long ago, Ragnarok, the end of times... Oh, this is a... Oh, why did it not click in my mind that this was like a Valkyrie profile related, title? I guess it's in that same franchise. Although I never played Valkyrie Profile. That was a big game that became immediately hard to find when it was released. This one's not out yet. This is November 11th. It kind of looks like, this one kind of looks like, just about every other JRPG that's released now. I'm not a big fan of like that kind of action-based, Dynasty Warriors-esque combat. Upcoming titles like, oh Jesus, another one? Harvestella? What is Harvestella? I like how all of these are also just being released on Steam too. Gone are the days when these are like console exclusives.
Leafy, a village adorned with the vibrant colors of the changing seasons. Your new life here begins today. Till the land. Sow seeds.
Oh, so this is like
crops and gather
Harvest Moon,
harvest.
Stardew Valley.
Crafting materials and ingredients for cooking by setting out on adventures.
Oh, but then it has the same it has the exact same combat as the other one, as every other JRPG.
Get to know the people who live in the neighboring towns and villages. life is peaceful and time passes by. Until quietus inevitably arrives, interrupting the cycle of the seasons.
Quietus.
Crops wither, and all life is threatened.
Wait, so
Share
then
your
what?
friend's sorrow, joy, pain, and courage, as you stand together to face
This one's weird.
momentous ordeals.
It's like part Harvest Moon,
This is the story
part
of those who live
Final
alone.
Fantasy. Okay, I'll pause. I'll just stop that. I've seen enough. It's quite disorienting to see Square Enix releasing a new game week after week. What sort of strategy was this? That is a strange strategy. It's so weird. Like, for a while, Square Enix was staying away from games like this, and they were trying to appeal to a Western audience. That's when they bought, like, Crystal Dynamics in them. And, you know, they had Sleeping Dogs, and they had the Tomb Raider series. They had Hitman, you know, and they were trying to be, like, basically mimicking Western studios with their releases. But according to their own internal documents and, you know, their financial reports, those games, despite selling, you know, millions of copies, oddly, they counted them as financial failures. Even, you know, again, they sold well, but they just didn't make their money back or something. Not sure, but those games failed, and then they released games like, you know, like Bravely Default, I Am Setsuna, and Octopath Traveler, and those games, you know, pop off. Not sure what the budgetary difference between those games and like Sleeping Dogs or Tomb Raider or Hitman are, but they pop off enough to the point where I guess Square Enix decided to make a shift in their business strategy. Like, they've ditched all of those Western games, you know, and I think they sold Crystal Dynamics to some other company, or did they sell them to some other company? I think they did. So somebody else is working on Tomb Raider, but and I don't know what happened with the other companies, but they just ditched all of that, and now they're just going full in on getting back to what made them, you know, their brand name, which is, you know, a shit ton of JRPGs. Releasing them all within the same year is a little concerning, you know, but we'll see. We'll see if they're oversaturating their own market. Like, are the people who are going to play all of these games going to buy all of these games? I feel like there's going to be some cannibalism going on here. But then I remembered that its fiscal year ends in March, meaning that it was time for the company to measure its revenue and earnings year over year. Releasing a ton of releasing a ton of stuff all at once may be an unusual way of tackling the issue, but it definitely ensures that sales go up one way or another. Arguably, though, it wasn't necessarily a move that paid off for Square Enix. Releasing Babylon's Fall so close to Elden Ring, the de facto game of the year, fuck that game, probably didn't help avoid its eventual road to having its servers closed down and seeing stores like GameStop dump the title out. I don't even know what Babylon's Fall is. It's so weird, all of these games that Square Enix is spitting out, and I haven't heard of any of them. What have I been doing all this time besides obsessing over Daggerfall?
We all have our reasons for Babylon's tower to fall. But not everyone has the power to make it happen. You do. Your bond with the Gideon Coffin gives you strength. Powers. Control. The only thing you can't do is go back.
I'm a little confused as to what kind of game this is. I guess not that it matters. It's okay. I understand. Looks like a straight up MMO. Well, it's dead now, so that's unfortunate. And Chocobo Racing GP disappointed when it was learned that it was filled with microtransactions and had a grindy season pass. The backlash was so bad that Square Enix even had to come out and apologize. Oh no. The last time they had to do that I recall was Final Fantasy XIV, when the producer had to write a tearful apology for the state of that game. Despite the hiccups, Square Enix's output steadied into a much saner pace in the few months after March. We saw games like Chrono Cross, the Radical Dreamers Edition. Oh yeah, they did release that. A remaster of the JRPG the classic JRPG, the Centennial Case, a Shijima story. A full motion video game? Oh, dude, I was talking about how they need to bring these kind of games back. Oh, dude. FMV game. Yes, I'm old enough. Okay, I'm playing this. I'm gonna play the demo. And Live A Live, a remake of SNES Classic. Yes, I was aware of that one too. With all those games, you think Square Enix blew its load for the year already, especially after the announcement that its big action game, Forspoken, was delayed until 2023. That's right, yeah, Forspoken was supposed to come out this year too. But as it turned out, Square Enix is readying the water hose with even more releases starting this fall. 2022 has been one of Square Enix's most experimental years, along with a surprising move to ditch most of its Western IPs and studios onto the Embracer Group. That's right, Embracer Group bottom. Losing flagships like Tomb Raider and Deus Ex, the company has released a bunch of games that branch out into different subgenres compared to previous years. More rigid focus on standard third-person JRPGs. While not every game has been a critical or financial success, it's still enthusing to see the publisher striving to be creative. For example, Voice of Cards, developed by Studio Elim, is one of the more unique Square Enix games published in recent memory. Okay, Voice of Cards is that card game. The Forsaken a Maiden and the Beast of Burden. What makes the game in the series stand out is the tabletop aesthetic as opposed to running in 3D space. Yeah, it's a tabletop card game. Drakengard. I haven't thought about that game in a while. Everything from characters to in-game dialogue is represented as a card. It certainly is a departure stylistically, but it's also a breath of fresh air. The Isle Dragon Roars received positive reception, so it's nice that Square Enix continue to publish more games in the series. It's great. Okay. The aforementioned Shijima story is even more experimental game because of its FMV format. These types of games play out more as interactive movies using real actors, similar to that of the recently released Immortality. Or Immorality. What the fuck is Immorality? Are FMV games making a comeback and I just wasn't paying attention? Oh, this just came out. August.
It's a bit of a fairy tale. So Arthur Fisher, the great director, was casting for
Tribeca
his movie
Festival.
Ambrosio. He saw 20,000 girls, and long story short, he picked you.
Yes.
What is your name?
Marissa Marcel.
Did we get it right?
It's not who we think it is.
Interesting. Okay, that could be cool. It looks neat.
Cut. That's good. Ready to move on to the standing close-ups? Miss Perkins, you can flirt with Carl now.
Okay, very positive marks. You know, only 361 reviews, but still very positive. Wow, all right. Well, shit. Maybe that'll be something I'll look into at some point. I had no idea. FMV is a niche genre compared to the others like RPGs, platformers, or first-person shooters, and Shijima's story told an incredible narrative about a detective solving a string of murder cases spanning over 100 years and tracing them to modern day. Square Enix has also been more creative with their strategy games. The DioField Chronicles has real-time strategy gameplay similar to that of League of Legends or Halo Wars. It's also a new franchise, but I strongly suspect we'll be seeing more. Having played it, the entire game just screams sequel bait. Members of the main cast fracture and go their separate ways throughout the story, and it all concludes with a cliffhanger ending. However, it does lay a solid foundation upon which to build thanks to the interpersonal conflicts between the main characters as a result of the clashing political ideals, as well as fun real-time strategy-based... Okay, well, you know, maybe I'll give DioField Chronicles a try, too, at some point. This is a lot that they're pummeling down on people. Thank goodness for games like the DioField Chronicles and Triangle Strategy, because one aspect of Square Enix experimentation that I'm concerned about is how some of its legacy franchises are being changed from turn-based games to action RPGs. Yes, that's what turned me off to JRPGs. Those JRPGs used to be the games my go-to, you know, back in the early console days, like SNES, Genesis, Saturn, PlayStation, PS2. I used to go to JRPGs as my go-to. And whenever I wanted a break, I would play like platformers and stuff. But once every JRPG became an action game that looked the same, like an action RPG that just looked the same style of menus, even the same fonts in some cases, the same Dynasty Warriors kind of hack and slash feel, I was out. Like, I bailed. And for me, it started with Shining Force. Like, Shining Force is one of my favorite game series from the Genesis and Saturn. And when they made Shining Force into an action RPG hack and slash on the PS2, I was done with it. So I completely agree with this take. This is most notable with the Final Fantasy franchise. Final Fantasy VII Remake transitioned the turn-based classic into an action RPG. Okay. Now they're gonna make me completely go back on everything I just said for this one instance. I like the Final Fantasy VII Remake. I actually thought that was a lot of fun. I had fun with that one. I haven't gotten the second part yet. I want to get that at some point, but that's on my PS4. So I'll have to find some time to get that. But I did like that one. I thought that was neat. And Final Fantasy 16 will be one too. I probably won't play that. I understand the urge to modernize, but turn-based games can be fun as well. While Final Fantasy VII Remake managed to pull the transition off successfully, I'm hoping that this trend doesn't go too far with Square Enix's catalog. The upcoming Front Mission remake games, the first of which is slated to release in November, they're remaking Front Mission? Is keeping its grid-based strategy RPG, so I'm happy to see that. The Tactics Ogre Remaster is also coming in November, is doing the same. Jesus Christ, man. This is a lot. The most recent culprit of this trend is Valkyrie Elysium. The Valkyrie Profile series has always been a turn-based one, and seeing Elysium as an action RPG is a bit of a letdown. However, okay, yeah. It plays like a relaxing version of Devil May Cry. I'll pass on that. So to emphasize the scale of releases that have just arrived and are still to come from Square Enix this year, in order of release, we have Voice of Cards, The Beasts of Burden, Various Daylife. What is Various Daylife? That title doesn't even make any sense. It has the same font as Octopath Traveler. Oh, this one's already out. This looks like an iPhone game, oddly. Oh, it's got like a Dragon Warrior style battle system, which actually makes it look like even more of a mobile game. It's not a mobile game, but it's on Steam. Their mouths don't even move when they speak. This looks like a low effort game. This looks like a low effort game. It's only 49 reviews and it's mixed. Well, that's not considering what I just watched, not surprising, but so far the story has been boring. The core gameplay mechanic is interesting. in concept, but the way they executed it seems to be not the way to do it. Fundamentally, it's an RPG. You level up, get stats, do the thing. The interesting part is that you can do side jobs to increase your stats. Depending on what day of the week it is, there is a multiplier to increase stat gain or loss. The stats are very similar in concept to the Cow Garden or Chow Garden in Sonic Adventure series. That's weird. The side job system is based on stamina, luck, completion chance, and that isn't a bad call, but the fact that it can be replenished by going on dates with your party members, which also increases your stats, make it no better than an idle clicker game. Oh, Jesus, date your party members? Also, the voices are annoying. They're a fake language, which in and of itself isn't bad unless it's poorly executed. I had to mute the voices 10 minutes into the game. Oh, that sucks. Oh, I found out recently that this was originally an Apple Arcade game that they simply ported over to PC. This sucks. There you go. I guess I was right. Let's see, what else do we have? The Dealfield Chronicles, Valkyrie Elysium, Star Ocean. There was a new Star Ocean. Front Mission, Harvestella, Tactics Ogre Reborn, Dragon Quest Treasures, Crisis Core, Final Fantasy VII. So that's 10 games from September 13th to the end of the year. They're dropping 10 games. Damn, that's brutal. That's brutal. But I guess that means there's going to be at least a game for everyone out there that, is generally a fan of Japanese RPGs of some sort. Comparatively, Square Enix seems to be returning to its usual slate of big RPG releases in 2023. So Forspoken, Final Fantasy 16, and 7 Rebirth are the most notable ones. Okay, that was a lot. Assuming none of these titles get delayed, this is one hell of a gauntlet of RPG games. Closing the year out with Crisis Core is quite a statement too, because the original PSP game from 2007 was so beloved for its amazing story and characters. Fans have been waiting for this game for years to be released on other platforms, and it's a good way to hold over Final Fantasy audience before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Final Fantasy 16 release. Oh man, if you enjoy games like Fire Emblem, which I do, Triangle Strategy, which I want to play, Tactics Ogre Reborn, which I definitely will play, Front Mission, and the Dealfield Chronicles, which I might try, are for you. The first 3 employ grid-based movement during tactical battles, which will be familiar to anyone who enjoys Nintendo's anime tactics games. Triangle Strategy and Tactics Ogre also have fantasy setting like Fire Emblem, while Front Mission is more sci-fi and focused on mechs. Oh man. If action-oriented games are Warrior Speed, Stranger of Paradise, Valkyrie Esteem, Star Ocean, The Divine Force, Harvestella, Dragon Quest Treasure, and Crisis Core fit the bill. Whew. That's rough. That's a lot. That is a hell of a lot. But I'm gonna try out that. I may try this too. But I downloaded that demo for the Japanese one, for the Square Enix one. So maybe I'll play that in a second. What a time! What a time to be! What a time to be a nerd. Called it. I mean, I saw it and I was like, oh, this looks like an iPhone game. There's a reason why it looked like that. But what a time to be a nerd. This is a great time to be like a fantasy nerd or clearly a JRPG nerd. Those are just the Square JRPGs that have come out. That's not even counting the other stuff that have come out, not from Square. And then if you're a fan of fantasy television, you have Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. You have Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power, which that last episode, holy shit. I want to talk about that one. I don't know if I'm going to go onto a panel on the Movies Madness and Entertainment channel and talk with them about it. I don't know if I'm going to talk about it myself on this stream. Maybe. I don't know. I have opinions and thoughts and lots of praise for that. So at some point, it's going to come exploding out of my mouth. I've got to talk about Rings of Power. But then outside from House of the Dragon and Rings of Power, we also have Wheel of Time, also on Amazon Prime. We have The Witcher on Netflix. I mean, this is a time for fantasy if you like fantasy. It's crazy. Like, I'm not used to all of my, and then like, you know, fandoms are coming back. Like the Lord of the Rings fandom is back. My Suikoden fandom, which I never thought would come back, is back. Like, you know, Hugh Jackman, you know, popped up on Ryan Reynolds' Twitter feed, you know, to confirm that he is gonna be in Deadpool 3. So, you know, Hugh Jackman as Wolverine is back, and that's awesome. It's like, what was old is new again, which, you know, maybe that's just our modern expression of our complete dereliction of creativity. But, you know, I think it's cool too. Like, a lot of really cool shit's come out of it. Everybody, thanks for watching the video. If you liked what you just saw, hit the like. If you want to see more, hit subscribe. I'd appreciate it if you did both. They would be very good for the channel and help me build the community here. If you have any kind of comments or opinions or anything like that, by all means, drop them in the comments section below. I like engaging with y'all, want to do more of that. So thank you again, and see you next time.